Today I want to talk about something that the media is not talking about. Hillary Clinton. I want to talk about Hillary Clinton today. We've done enough talking about Donald Trump the past few days, and I think it's time that Hillary got some attention to show that we're fair, that the news media is fair, that we could give her as much airtime as Donald Trump is getting. We wouldn't want him to suck all the air out of the room and be unfair to Mrs. Clinton. First and foremost, Hillary Clinton is a liar. She is a known liar. She's a liar and she's a perjurer. These are things that most people go to jail for. Now, I usually try to speak on the cuff, but there's so much going on right now that I have to refer to notes as I make this video because there's just so much shit to talk about. First of all, in regards to Hillary's history of being a known liar and an actual perjurer, the evidence is irrefutable and it's out there. All you got to do is just go on YouTube and look for it. She's given testimony in front of Congress, and she's made statements which were proven to be untrue, which were proven that she knew that they were untrue statements. She claimed that none of the emails that she sent or received were marked classified at the time that she sent or received them. Now, when James Comey testified in front of Congress and Trey Gowdy asked him point blank, is that true? His exact words were, and I quote, "That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on 3 of the documents." He's accused her of lying, yet for some reason he didn't want to indict her. Clinton says that she provided the State Department with all of her work-related emails. James Comey said, and I quote, "No, that's not true. We found thousands that were not returned." She was under congressional subpoena to turn over all of her records, all of her emails. And yet she didn't. And she went a step further by wiping the hard drive in her machine, by using hard drive wiping software to render it impossible to retrieve that information in the future ever again. That's deliberate. That's tampering with evidence. That's destruction of evidence. These are things that people go to jail for. Not Hillary Clinton, no. She doesn't even get accused. Congressman Mike Pompeo said that she perjured herself in her Benghazi testimony. That's an accusation by a sitting congressman publicly accusing her of perjury, yet no perjury charges have been brought forth against her. I distinctly remember the last time that I saw James Comey testifying in front of Congress, and Congressman Chaffetz had said to James Comey, I'm speaking verbatim here, I don't remember word for word, but he basically said to Chaffetz, if you know she lied during your testimony, how come you haven't brought her up on perjury charges? And Comey said it's not the FBI's job to file charges of perjury without a recommendation from the Congress. And right there, without skipping a beat, Chaffetz said, you will have that by the end of today. Now, why is it that we haven't heard anything about that since then? If Chaffetz, through the Congress, presented that recommendation to the FBI to now investigate Hillary for perjury charges, why has this not been spoken about by anybody since that day? Because it's been swept under the carpet, that's why. Because the media doesn't want to talk about certain things, and that which they can't make us forget, they just won't talk about. I want to move on to WikiLeaks, because the WikiLeaks are damaging beyond belief, and yet the media doesn't want to talk about it. They want to talk about sex scandals. I watched the news last night, and every single news show was completely dominated by accusations against Donald Trump. This is what we're talking about right now in a presidential election, in one of the most important elections in the history of our country, an election that will decide the future of our country, the destiny of our country, the heart and soul of our country, And we're deciding it based upon sex scandals. This is how low it has fallen. And I blame Hillary Clinton for this, because Donald Trump came to this campaign with a very well rehearsed agenda. He had proposals, and they're all on his website. He has proposals on almost every category that we need to be talking about: foreign policy, the economy, creating jobs, renegotiating bad trade deals, stopping our jobs from leaving our country, keeping jobs here, creating new jobs here, raising the living standard of the middle class, raising the standard of living of poverty-stricken folks living in the inner cities, defeating ISIS, defeating worldwide terrorism, renegotiating military alliances that don't necessarily work in our best interests right now. He had a very well-rehearsed agenda. And head-to-head, arguing on the facts, Hillary Clinton would lose on almost every argument. In fact, every argument, because she hasn't brought a case. Like a lawyer who showed up in court and didn't prepare her case, she has nothing to argue. All she has to go by is digging up these people from the past and throwing all this dirt at Donald Trump, and the media is all too willing to oblige her. They're going along with it because these are their marching orders. It's obvious that what we refer to as the mainstream media in our country is anything but. They're not mainstream. They're not the media. Referring to them as the media would be to infer that they're actually presenting the news, because this is what the job of the news media is. They're not supposed to make the news. They're not supposed to be the news. They're not supposed to manipulate the news. They're not supposed to present a slant on the news or a spin on the news. They're supposed to report the news. That's all they're supposed to do. Some stations may lean one way, some may lean another, but it's gotten so bad that all of the main news outlets in this country have all become the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. And it's exactly what they are. They are improperly communicating with the Clinton campaign to help them to strategize how to bury Donald Trump and how to elevate Hillary and how to shield her from all the damaging shit that's out there right now that exposes her for the fraud, the liar, and the criminal that she is. There's no mainstream news media. There's the propaganda machine network, and you could just lump ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, almost all the major newspapers in the country, the New York Times, the New York Daily News, the LA Times. I mean, the list is endless. And then you could add to that pretty much all of the institutions of higher learning in this country, which teach nothing but liberalism to our students. Your kid goes to college and they get brainwashed into being a liberal. If they have any type of conservative thought in their head, they better not show it to their professors or they're going to get failing grades. Our society is being, not so slowly, but kind of rapidly now, transitioned into a predominantly liberal society, and conservative thought is being marginalized and almost snuffed out completely, and is being done so with a media that controls the thoughts of America. They control how you think and your perception of the world around you by presenting things to you the way they want you to hear them. Don't think for 1 second that these moderators at these debates are fair in any way. They have an agenda. Even something as innocuous as Saturday Night Live is agenda driven. It's comedy, right? Not really, because it's not funny when you use it to villainize one person and sort of, mildly joke at the other. They did that to Sarah Palin in 2008, and they're doing it to Trump now. I believe Norm Macdonald, who was one of the players on Saturday Night Live way back when, has said that this is, it's insult-driven comedy. It is agenda-driven comedy. And this goes to show you just how deeply liberalism has permeated and infected all forms of television media. It's everywhere. Even Fox News, which is considered to be a conservative news channel, it's beginning to take its effect. Megyn Kelly is no friend to Donald Trump, and I don't think that she's really a friend to the Republican Party. There's a lot of crap on Fox News now that's starting to piss me off. It's the only station that I can watch in any capacity, with the exception of Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly. To a certain extent, maybe Brit Hume I could take, but the rest of the station, it's gone to shit as well. Let me examine now some of the most damaging things that we've learned about Hillary Clinton this week through WikiLeaks. I'm going to turn to my notes here because there's a lot of shit. Okay. Stuff that the news media does not want to talk about right now. Number one, Hillary Clinton has a cozy and improper relationship with the news media. I've just been talking about that. The mainstream media is not the mainstream media. They're the propaganda media network, propaganda machine network. All right? PMN is what I'm going to call them from now on, because I can't watch that shit anymore. And I'm imploring all of you out there, if you want to make even a dent, even a scratch on their shiny machine, stop watching them. Not even to see what they're talking about today. Don't tune in anymore to CNN, MSNBC, none of the major network news outlets. Don't watch them anymore. Make sure they feel the pinch, a ratings drop off. Trump has a very large voting bloc, and we have to make that power be seen, felt, and heard. Don't support those news outlets anymore. They're in bed with Hillary Clinton, and they are Hillary Clinton operatives. Marco Rubio said it right when he said the biggest super PAC in the world is the mainstream news media, and they're working for the Democrats. Next thing, Hillary's State Department gave special attention to what was known as a Friends of Bill, or FOB. In short, while he raised $10 billion for Haiti for earthquake recovery. Again, Hillary Clinton selling influence at the highest levels of government, directing the State Department to play favorites for her pet projects and things that put money into her coffers. The Clinton Foundation supposedly raised upwards of $10 billion towards recovery effort for Haiti after the disastrous earthquake. Yet almost none of that money found its way to the Haitians. People in Haiti fucking hate the Clintons. Ask anybody from Haiti what they think of the Clintons, and I guarantee you they're going to tell you we hate them. They robbed Haiti. If not robbing Haiti outwardly, they used them as a tool to rob and to pocket money and to enrich themselves. Billions of dollars disappeared into the black hole known as the Clinton Foundation. Nobody ever investigated it. Next, Clinton wants a hemispheric common market with open borders. That's what she told Brazilian bankers in a closed-door secret speech, which I'm sure she was paid handsomely for. Again, she is a globalist. She is a dangerous, dangerous person. Her ideas are detrimental to the American people and contrary to the Constitution of the United States. When you take the oath of office, you take an oath to protect and serve the people of the United States of America, not the Western Hemisphere. You're not president of the world. You're going to be president of the United States. And your loyalty is to the people of this country and to do the right thing for the people of this country, to protect our economy and not to let our economy be sucked out like a giant vacuum cleaner to feed the economies of poorer countries in the southern part of our hemisphere. They're going to have to figure it out on their own, because we're suffering right now with massive job loss. We're losing thousands and thousands of jobs that are going to Mexico and wherever else in the world they're going. We're losing our high-paying jobs, and in return, we're getting unskilled workers. We can't sustain ourselves that way anymore. And this is what Hillary Clinton wants to put into high gear if she becomes president. She's going to work towards erasing the borders, and she's going to work towards intermingling our economy with the world economy. Next, Clinton campaign communicated improperly with the Department of Justice regarding her emails. This was an ongoing investigation, and nobody in the Department of Justice should have been communicating with Hillary Clinton or with her campaign in any capacity until that investigation had come to an end and they were ready to question her. She was briefed on this every step of the way. She has contacts at high levels of the government, and they were feeding her information and letting her know what was going on so that she could develop strategy before she was even questioned. She admits to having public and private positions. Imagine that. Like I said in one of my videos a week or two ago, I've always known that what she says in these closed-door speeches that she's paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, she's telling these rich bankers one thing and telling the American people another. And I always knew that, and it should have been obvious to everyone, and now we know for sure. That's what she does. She goes in front of these rich Wall Street bankers and tells them what a great job they're doing, and how much she loves them, and how, don't worry, nothing's really going to change. I just have to say certain things publicly, which we know between us is not really true. How could anybody vote for her knowing that? She's a fucking liar. She doesn't have any policy. She doesn't have anything that resembles a policy. Everything with her is shoot from the hip. She mocked Catholics and evangelicals as being severely backwards. Imagine that. The woman who's telling us that we have to be inclusive and we have to welcome all of these Syrian Islamic people into our country, not knowing who they are, where they're from, what their loyalties are, and whether or not they still believe in a system that goes back to the Middle Ages. Catholics and evangelicals are backwards? It's amazing how they vilify anything that's Christian, but they want to elevate Islam. I don't understand that in any way. I just don't get that. There are elements within the Islamic world that have not changed in 1400 years. There are still large numbers of people in the Muslim world who think they have a right to kill you if you don't believe in their religion or if you insult their religion. There's a long laundry list of things that they think they can kill and maim and rob and rape for in the name of Allah. Yet Hillary Clinton thinks that Catholics and evangelicals are severely backwards. Anybody in this country that is Christian of any denomination, you should not be voting for Hillary Clinton because you know what she thinks of you now. Hillary admitted that she can't relate to the struggle of the middle class. Well, imagine that. She likes to talk about her middle class upbringing and how her father struggled in the drapery business to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. Do a little research. Go online. Go on YouTube. Check out Hillary's childhood home. It's far from modest, and it's certainly not middle class. I mean, it's almost a mansion. And it turns out that her father wasn't some struggling seamster, sitting at a sewing machine, working his fingers to the bone. He actually was a businessman. He had a drapery business, and he had people working for him, which means that he lived, if not rich, a very, very upper class lifestyle. And he purchased his home in the 1950s in cash. Even back then, when homes were very modestly priced. Very few people in the country could afford to buy a house in all cash, especially if they were middle class. Hillary was never middle class. She was always privileged. She's always gotten what she wanted. She's always gotten her way. And she's never been able to identify with the struggles of the average American. In fact, one of the other things that came out in WikiLeaks is that she doesn't even like to use the term average American in her speeches. It's just mind-boggling how millennials and average Americans are supporting her. She doesn't understand you. She doesn't identify with any of your struggles. And for that matter, she really doesn't give a shit about you or your struggles. She strategized on not releasing all of her emails despite a congressional subpoena. Now, you're given a subpoena by the Congress of the United States, and you're told to turn over your server and all the emails that it contains. That means to turn over the server untouched with all of its emails still intact. And even while she was in the process of turning stuff over bits and pieces, she and her lawyers were trying to find a way to circumvent that, to hold back. And that's a direct violation of a subpoena, which is in direct violation of the law. Again, something that most people go to jail for. These are things that should be determining who our next president is going to be. Not sex scandals, not whether or not Trump groped some woman 30 years ago on a plane. And incidentally, that if you research that story's been debunked. It's the woman who accused him of groping her on an airplane said that he lifted the armrest and suddenly was in her seat all over her. And if you do some research on first class accommodations on aircraft, you will find that those chairs are just like a reclining chair in your living room, and the armrests don't lift. They're not removable. No small surprise that this woman is actually an operative in the Clinton organization. Very, very telling how she comes out now after all these years with this story, which is at best questionable, when she actually has an agenda. Before the first debate, scandals were thrown on Trump. Before the second debate, scandals were thrown on Trump. We've already seen the scandals of this week right before the final debate. These things have all dominated the news throughout all three debates, and they dominate the debates as well. How much time did the moderators waste talking about sex scandals from 20 years ago and whether or not Donald Trump called Alicia Machado Miss Piggy, which is also unsubstantiated, by the way. We need to talk about the issues, the things that are facing this country today. It also came out in WikiLeaks that Hillary Clinton wants a population that is uninformed and subservient. Imagine that. The land of the free, the home of the brave. In the land where we have free speech, where we can speak our mind, where we can criticize the government, where we can say what we want to say. She wants us to be submissive and subservient and to not question her authority and to let her do what she wants. And you're going to vote for her? It can't be. It can't be. It can't be allowed to happen. It is nothing less than a disaster of titanic proportions. If we elect her, the whole country is hitting an iceberg and going to sink if we elect her as our president. Don't let it happen. Don't be fooled into thinking, I can't vote for Trump. He's a bad guy. He said bad things. He did bad things. Look at Hillary Clinton's past. Look at her present and her plans for the future and realize she is unfit to be president. The only thing that she's fit for is a prison cell.